Make sure to check out my Patreon for exclusive videos never before seen on YouTube. And don't forget to also check out the memberships on my channel page to join and gain access to perks and see videos early. Make sure to click the subscribe button and hit the bell and be notified of new videos. All the support goes to the production of the channel for better content. Now let's get into the video. What's going on, guys? In today's video, we are going to be discussing what if Gohan trained like Son Goku. As we know, all throughout Dragon Ball, Gohan has a soft side, to where he doesn't have that Saiyan instinct to train constantly, and to constantly improve himself and grow even more powerful than ever before. Like his father, Goku trains almost every single part of the day. That's all he does, is eat, sleep, and train. He hardly does anything else other than farming. But what if Gohan has decided to train like his father? Or maybe he's just born this way, just like his father, and even like Goten, who always wants to play and fight. This will greatly change the story, as we know how broken Gohan's potential is, especially when he becomes a grown man, as even as a child, he was able to keep up with his own father. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get into it. Most of Dragon Ball events would happen the exact same. We are going to cut towards the Raditz saga. Now Raditz here would still show up like before, and he would meet Son Goku and explain the Saiyan heritage. He would still attack Krillin with his tail, slapping him into Kami's house. But now in this what if though, Gohan here is actually a bit more powerful than he originally was. Let me explain. At least for 1 to 2 years, Goku has been lightly training Gohan, as Gohan has little to no interest in training under Chi-Chi. She doesn't want to listen to her tutelage, as this infuriated Chi-Chi, as Gohan would always sneak out and always have a tantrum and freak out whenever Chi-Chi tries to make him do schoolwork. Now this doesn't mean that Gohan is dumb, as Gohan was already very intelligent to begin with as a young boy. But I do feel like Gohan here, his main focus is training. He wants to be just like his dad and be a martial artist. So especially over the next year, Goku would have been training Gohan, teaching him about survival, a bit more nicely than Piccolo did, but Gohan can already take care of himself at that age, as Gohan here can already survive on his own, and not to mention, he's pretty strong. Gohan here has a power level of 100. He's weaker than Krillin and Master Roshi, and he doesn't have the same martial arts or techniques and skills that they do, but his raw power alone and his potential is incredible. Goku has seen this as well, as Gohan has shown rage a few times, and his power level has spiked beyond what even his power level was. This made Goku beyond excited to train his son, and he's proud that his son is following in his footsteps, as he's going to do better to be a father. So, Raditz here would not have taken Gohan so easily, as Gohan would have been able to actually get out of his grasp, which had actually surprised Raditz as his scouter were at a power level of 100. He was impressed the little brat had a little bit of power in him, but of course it's nothing compared to him, and he's weaker than his father. He would have still knocked out Goku in one elbow attack, and he would have still taken Gohan, now having a tighter grip. In this what if though, he would have thrown Gohan into the space pod, as Gohan here is still a 5-year-old boy. So he would be terrified and not knowing what to do, as this guy, Gohan could not beat him up or do anything. This guy was terrifying. Gohan tried hitting him as hard as he could, but nothing would have happened to Raditz. Goku would have still teamed up with Piccolo, and they would have still arrived to fight Raditz. But now in this what if, once when Gohan watches his father get brutally beaten by Raditz and he is filled with intense and utter rage, Gohan's power level spikes. Gohan here had a power level of roughly around 1,200 to 1,300, and it gravely wounded Raditz. Now because of this, Piccolo was still charging up the special beam cannon, but I do still feel like Raditz would still dodge the attack. But because of this, Gohan, having the rage and being much more stronger than he was originally, instead of a power level around 1,000 to 3,000, Raditz's scouter would have read over 3,000, as Gohan would have rammed right into him, and it would have actually killed Raditz. This greatly changed the story, as Goku never goes to meet King Kai. This means that he would never know about Kaioken or the Spirit Bomb. But this also means that, well, what are we going to do about Raditz? Raditz was still alive for at least a minute right afterwards, as he would still tell them about how there's two Saiyans more powerful. Now they never spoke about the Dragon Ball since Goku never died, but I do still feel like Vegeta and Nappa would still have the courage to probably want to go to Earth to check out that these, of course, half-breeds, these hybrids, are powerful enough to knock out Raditz that easily. This might interest them, so they're going to beeline and head straight towards Earth. Bulma would have still gotten Raditz's scouter, and the events would have still played out the exact same. The only difference here is that they would know that the Saiyans are coming, as via Bulma can listen to the intercoms from the scouter, and more. And Raditz of course warned them, so now they don't know exactly when, but Bulma, through listening to communications, basically gauged out that they might have a year or so, but she doesn't know exactly, maybe even less. So because of this, Goku would actually take Gohan to the next level of his training. As Piccolo would follow along a little bit, but he would do mostly the training solo, as he doesn't want to fight alongside his enemy. Goku would then take Gohan to go train under Korin, and Gohan would have drank the Ultra Divine Water. Now we do know that Goku had a power level of around 180 when he fought Demon King Piccolo, and he was easily defeated. Once he drank the Ultra Divine Water, he basically had a power level around 260. Now this affects people differently, but for what if purposes, he got around 1.4 times stronger, but we're going to even it out to 1.5 because it's Gohan. So if Gohan had a power level of 100, and of course if he times that by 1.5, that would give him a power level of around 150. So, of course, that's not a massive boost in terms of power, so what are we going to do for Gohan? Well, it does increase his power level a little bit, but it's not enough to really impress Goku. Gohan needs much more. So, after he drank the Ultra Divine Water to boost his power a little bit, they would then take Gohan up to Kami, as now Kami can train Gohan and help him alongside with Popo, and they can grow stronger together on Kami's lookout. Now Chi-Chi was furious that she was not told about this, but Goku would have explained to her what's going to happen, and that Chi-Chi can come stay with them for the time being on Kami's lookout, while Gohan can train alongside his father. And Goku promises Chi-Chi that after the Saiyans arrive and they defeat them, Gohan can focus a bit more on his studies like she wanted. And Gohan would even agree, saying, "I'll do that, Mom, if you let me get stronger with Dad. I promise I'll get smarter, I promise." Chi-Chi would agree, as she can't tackle both Goku and her son both arguing with her, so she would just have to accept it. But now Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, and more would even come visit to help train as well. So I do still feel like Goku, even though he's not training under 10 times gravity, he is training with 4 other people, including his son, who's rapidly catching up to his power level. I do still feel like Goku could get an arguably similar boost in power. But now there is one thing that they could always use. Especially near the end of the year, once when Vegeta and Nappa are soon going to arrive, they don't know the exact date of course, they would then go into the hyperbolic time chamber. All of the Earthlings and everybody else would then take turns, as Popo has now readied up the time chamber and it was ready to be used. Now we don't know multipliers for how strong they would be, but if him and Gohan trained in 10 times gravity for over a year, you could argue that it could be similar to King Kai's training. So if him and Goku trained together alongside with other friends for over a year, I would comfortably put Goku and Gohan at a power level of around 1000 to 1500, the same as Raditz. Now we could do a bare minimum and say that they got at least 12 to 15 times stronger because of the room. So 12 times stronger, that gives them a power level of 18,000, so I would give Goku a power level of 18,000, and I would give Gohan a power level of roughly around 10 to 12,000. Now as we know, of course, Goku for the most part was training Gohan for that year to further control his power even more, but to also mainly control his rage, as Gohan can harness his rage and increase his strength tenfold. The Saiyans would soon arrive, as this time Goku was never late, so that means that most of the Z-Fighters would not die in battle. Now you could argue that Vegeta and Nappa would still spawn the Cybermen, but I don't think they would, as why would they need to, as they don't have time to waste, of course, for 2 hours. So the fight would instantly begin, with Gohan actually stepping up to fight Nappa. Gohan was a bit nervous, but Goku would reassure his son, telling him that do not be afraid, remember our training. You can easily take down that big bully, Gohan, I know you can. So Gohan would then tighten his fist and believe in himself. Nappa would then laugh and then charge in for a punch, as it was almost like slow motion to Gohan. Raditz was really slow. Gohan would have easily dodged the attack and delivered a powerful gut punch to Nappa, knocking him through several mountains. This even surprised Gohan, as he thought that Nappa guy was a lot more powerful, but he was easily being defeated. Vegeta was utterly shocked to see that that young boy got that strong in a single year. As he would tap his scouter, he would be shocked to see that he has a power level of 12,000. That's utterly ridiculous. There's no way that that brat, who's born of a low-class hybrid, is close enough to even his power level getting even near it. There's no way. Even surpassing Nappa, that's ridiculous. Nappa would have gotten furious. He would have flew at Gohan, continuing his flurry of attacks, but Gohan now has that confidence within him. As Krillin cheers him on, Gohan would have easily dispatched of Nappa. I do not feel like Gohan would have killed him, but Gohan would have fired on Masenko, and it would have hit him full force, and it would have knocked Nappa through another boulder, crashing down on him as he was out for the count currently. Vegeta was furious that that young boy was able to defeat him, as they were right, but maybe this was a mistake. But of course, power level 12,000, if he's potentially the strongest here, Vegeta should be able to handle him no problem. As then, he looks at Kakarot, who would then challenge Vegeta to a fight, and he wants to do this alone. He would then be placed far off from them, as he would be placed on the rocky wasteland. But now Vegeta would say this is a great place for you to spawn your grave, as Goku would then smirk, and Goku would begin powering up. Vegeta's face went into pure shock, as Goku's power level matched his exactly. At around 18,000, their powers were matched. Vegeta was shocked that Goku was able to match his power. That's impossible. There's no way that a low class can surpass and keep up with a super elite. They would begin their battle, as Vegeta was a very skilled fighter, but I do feel like them being evenly matched, Goku would actually have the slight edge, having far more gifted in martial arts and having more skill in terms of fighting. He also has much more techniques than Vegeta has, but there is one downside. Vegeta has the Moon ability. But the fight would be very close, and it's one-sided on each. But then, of course, Goku I feel like would begin getting on the losing end, as Vegeta's pure brutality would start to overwhelm Goku. As Vegeta would then laugh, both were absolutely exhausted, as Gohan would have then jumped in to save his father. As him and Gohan would have then double-teamed Vegeta, and Vegeta was still able to hold his own for a little while, but it was far too much for the Saiyan Prince. As he was beginning to get overwhelmed, he would then run out of options and jump into the air and charge a Gallic Gun. Goku here, who was completely exhausted alongside Gohan as well, they don't know if they can block this attack, as its power was enormous. Goku here does not have Kaioken or a Spirit Bomb, so how would he be able to deflect this attack? Goku would then have no choice, as he would then summon a Kamehameha wave charging slowly, as Gohan would then copy his father. But then standing next to him would actually be Krillin, and then Tien, and even Piccolo. And then surprisingly, even Master Roshi would show up, as he said he doesn't want to miss the party. And even though he might not prove that useful, he's not going to let his students fight this battle alone. As Master Roshi would then go into his buff form, and he would help them out one last time, he would then charge up his full power Kamehameha wave as well, and all of them would then fire an attack as the Z Fighters work together as a team. This attack would easily blast through the Gallic Gun, and it would hit Vegeta full force, launching him into the air. Everybody was exhausted, but Goku can sense that Vegeta was alive. Barely. As Vegeta would be completely out of breath and completely exhausted, he would diminish his power even less as he would summon a fake moon, throwing it into the air and becoming a great ape. Now Nappa, who was actually just waking up, would laugh and look at the fake moon as he would then transform. Now there's two great apes. Now they are not at their full strength. You could argue that Vegeta has a power level of around 80,000 and Nappa has a power level of around 30,000 to maybe 20,000. They would then laugh, and they would start picking apart the Z Fighters one by one very quickly. But now Tien would then help them out by using the solar flare technique and would blind the great apes so they can plan the next attack. They know that the tails are the weak point. Krillin thinks that if he can get close enough, he can maybe cut the tails off. And funny enough, guess who else is there? Yajirobe. Yajirobe states that he has a low power level, they might not be able to sense him or see him coming, he can maybe cut his tail off right in time. As they think this is a good idea, him and Krillin would then run off to be prepared, as Goku and the other Z Fighters would distract the great apes so they can get their tails removed. It was proving very difficult, as the great apes were lightning fast, as they were able to catch Goku and Gohan, tossing them through a mountain, as Goku would actually be holding up boulders so it does not crush him and Gohan. But now Gohan would then look through the small crack of a rock and look up at the fake moon. As Goku, who was gravely injured, would then see his son Gohan starting to convulse as Gohan begins growing. Gohan then transforms into a great ape. He doesn't attack his father, but Gohan was completely mindless, but he would then aim his sights at Nappa and Vegeta. Now Gohan here, even though he was exhausted, he has a battle power of at least 6,000 still, which is half of his power. Even as a great ape at 60,000, he would have overpowered Nappa. Now, during the overpower with Nappa, Gohan would have grabbed Nappa and fired a massive mouth blast, and it would have completely blown his head off, killing Nappa. Vegeta would then easily overpower Gohan, who though is very powerful, Vegeta has full control of his Grade 8 form, using techniques, and he is a bit more stronger than Gohan, but it's the distraction that they need. As Gohan was badly injured on the ground as Vegeta stomped on his chest, he then begins charging up a mouth beam, as Son Goku would then distract him by jumping in front of him and shooting a ki beam in his eye. But then, this gives him enough time, as Yajirobe would then jump in and cut Vegeta's tail off. Vegeta would then revert back to normal, but the fight was not over yet, as the Z fighters were completely exhausted, but Vegeta still had fight left in him. Goku would then hand his son Gohan over to Krillin, and then look back at Vegeta as the two would continue their fight, as Goku was now fighting for his son's life. The fight would be brutal, but Goku would then have the upper hand, getting the final blow on Vegeta, as then Yajirobe again would help Goku by slashing Vegeta in the back, which would give Goku enough energy to use the last of his ki and blast Vegeta right back into his ship. Now Vegeta knows that he's defeated. As the Z fighters then surround him, Goku would then stop him and say, "No, let him go, because I want to defeat him on my own one day." They don't understand why, as Piccolo was going to do it, but it was too late, as Vegeta would then laugh and take off, as he would now flee. But now because of this, none of the Z fighters died. So would Frieza ever show up? No. Frieza would never have no interest in the Dragon Balls, as he never heard about them before. They never spoke about it for Raditz, and they never spoke about it to Vegeta either, because none of the Z fighters have died here in this battle. Son Gohan would then wake up back at his house, and Chi-Chi was super relieved, crying, holding her son. And of course, she told Gohan that he better start studying so he can at least pass a few classes. But she understands that Gohan can get a little bit of training in if he does good on his studying. Gohan promises as he begins to start studying, but of course, seeing his father training outside, Gohan would quickly wrap up a test and then run outside to continue training. After the defeat of the Saiyans, this greatly changes the era of Dragon Ball Z. As we know, Frieza would never know about the Dragon Balls. This means that he would not have a conquest for immortality. This means that Frieza would still be doing his normal thing, drinking wine on ship. Now this means as well that Namek was not destroyed at all. So the Namekians are peaceful, the Dragon Balls remain hidden there, but of course we have the Dragon Balls on Earth, but they never speak about it. They only had interest in the hybrid Saiyans. Now Frieza wouldn't really have any care or interest about it, as he only heard it through intercoms, but he doesn't care about that thing, that's stupid. Would he be mad about there might be monkeys? But maybe, but he wouldn't necessarily care about them. They're just nothing to him. So this means that the Frieza arc would never happen. The Namek arc would not happen. This greatly changes things, as Frieza would still be alive in this timeline, and there would be no Super Saiyan Goku. They would never venture to Namek, and Krillin would never die. So they would never have to use the Namekian Dragon Balls. This also means that Goku would have never gone to Yardrat to learn instant transmission and to master Super Saiyan form even more. So life would actually be peaceful on Earth. Not much would really change, other than the fact that, of course, there's no Namek. So they would all just be training, relaxing, and over a year would pass. Gohan would still be doing his studies, as Chi-Chi focused him on, but Goku knows that if those Saiyans ever come back, since of course Vegeta said so, and they would be fools to not take up on it, he will keep on training Gohan, and he worked it out with Chi-Chi that Gohan has to train to grow stronger, but he can still study. But Gohan's passion is fighting. He only does studying to basically do it for his mother, and he loves his mother. So Gohan would still sneak off with Goku all the time, and they would continue training back and forth. Goku was amazed by Gohan's potential, and the fact that Gohan is as strong as he is, and probably going to surpass him soon, already at this young age. Gohan has learned a lot more, and I feel like Piccolo would also warm up a little bit. Now we can throw in a little arc to where, it is true, Piccolo would want revenge, as he not necessarily had Gohan to warm up to. So Piccolo would probably challenge Goku to a final fight to take over the world. But with Goku and the Z Fighters, Goku would have probably defeated Piccolo. And Piccolo at this point knows that there's no point in this anymore, it's stupid. And Piccolo would probably start befriending Goku as a more like a rival, just to become stronger. And this is when I think he would have a good connection with Gohan, as Gohan would rub off on him. So Piccolo would actually call Gohan his friend. And Piccolo would also teach Gohan some unique tricks as well, as Gohan is already growing so fast at this point that he's already going to surpass Piccolo. And Goku was struggling to keep up with him. So also, since Goku never went to go fight the Saiyans too, this means that there's no King Kai training. So Goku has no access to King Kai, nor does he have access to, of course, Kaioken or the Spirit Bomb. Now, the one change that we are going to do here is what happened to Vegeta. Well, since Vegeta was defeated, he would probably keep on training and keep on taking over planets under Frieza's rule, but his plan is that he does want to overrun Frieza one day. But he knows that he cannot fight Frieza, but he wants to take care of those fools at Earth, but he knows that he'll wait his time to do it. So I feel like Vegeta would actually begin to start training, because now he has determination. As he would just fly his ship off to random places, maybe start training and fighting a lot more. There probably is training grounds on Frieza's Empire, and Vegeta would just start to grow more powerful. Now, some people might argue with us and state, well, if Frieza sees Vegeta's growth is so high, same with the other people like the Dodoria and Zarbon, they would want to kill Vegeta before he gets too strong. Well, Vegeta learned a trick from Earth, as he said this in the Namek Saga, that he learned how to conceal his power. So, and also how to sense energy. He doesn't really need a scouter anymore, but he just uses it just for show, as he doesn't want them to know his abilities, and Vegeta's not a fool. So yeah, Vegeta would keep his power level roughly what it was in the original, so they don't have any second ideas or any second guesses, while Vegeta would be training harder than ever to grow more powerful. Past this though, back onto Earth, life would be truly peaceful for, you can say, about over a year, as then a time ship would then land. And they don't know who this is or what it is, as a being would then step out, and it was none other than Piccolo? It was Piccolo, but now there's two Piccolos. What's going on? But this version of Piccolo was much different. He had a massive scar over his face, and he had massive damage to his body, but he had a cloak to block his body. Piccolo, this version, would then actually speak to Goku and Gohan, explaining who he is, and he already knows that Piccolo can hear him, so the two Piccolos would meet. And you would definitely have a little connection there, as this Piccolo is completely different from the original Piccolo. He's a lot more calm, he's a lot more peaceful, and a lot more at calmness with himself. This version of Piccolo also looks a little bit different. That's because he fused with Kami during this time as well. In the future timeline, this version of Piccolo fused with Kami to try and fight the androids. He would explain who the androids are. There are these two beings that are immensely powerful, and they showed up because of Dr. Gero. Now, these androids basically killed most of the Z Fighters, as they didn't have much of a chance. And Goku couldn't have been able to fight them because he had the heart virus and he died. So Goku was kind of let down the fact that he could not fight these androids. But now Gohan asked, what about me? And Piccolo was the most hurt about it. Gohan was just a young boy, and Dr. Gero knew that Gohan had this latent potential, and the fact that he could grow stronger than the androids potentially. So once when the androids were created without nobody preparing for it, the first thing the androids did was they went to Son Goku's house, where they killed Chi-Chi, and they took their chances and teamed up on Gohan, killing him. Piccolo would state that he tried everything in his power to try and stop the androids, but they gravely wounded him, and he was able to escape, barely with his life, as they completely destroyed the entire area, killing the Sun family. Piccolo states that Earth is a war zone now. That's pretty much, the Earth is just fighting to survive as the androids play around and destroy everything. Piccolo would state that, and I also fused with my other half, Kami, which this would also make the previous Piccolo kind of snort at him a little bit and say, oh, well, we're definitely not the same, because I would never fuse that old fool. Future Piccolo would look at him and state, you are the bigger fool here. You were no different than I was at your time. I'm the same as you. He would state that fusing with Kami was the best thing that happened to me, because I saw the true reason. And Piccolo would state that I'm in no condition to truly fight like I used to no more, because I'm far from healing yet. But Once when I become strong enough, I'm going to crush those androids, and I'm going to help use the Dragon Balls to try and wish them back. Which Goku would comment stating, why didn't you do it before? And Piccolo would say that the androids and Dr. Gero, they've set perimeters around everywhere, so he cannot go in certain areas and search for the Dragon Balls this way. Also, the Dragon Radar that they do have has now been tracked and scanned by Dr. Gero. So, this means that Piccolo cannot search for the Dragon Balls because there's no Dragon Ball radars anymore, because Bulma had to destroy them. So Piccolo is just searching with his eyes and word of mouth, which definitely makes it way longer to find them. Which Goku would understand, and Piccolo has a few things for them. He would tell Goku about the heart medicine, when the androids are going to be coming on the exact date and time. He would give Goku the heart medicine and tell him to train harder than ever. As member Piccolo has the memories of Kami, he would state that member that Kami and Popo have the room of spirit and time, and they can prepare it, and you and the others can go in there and become as strong as possible, as you guys are going to need it. And Goku remembers this. He remembers this once when he was a kid, that he went in there for only about a month though, it was about an hour. But yeah, they can definitely do it now, for sure. Now Piccolo would have to leave, as his spaceship was ready to go. He would then get back into it, but right before he does, he whispers something into the current Piccolo's ear, which would shock him, and then he would leave. Goku would ask what he said, and Piccolo would just scoff it off and say nothing. But Piccolo gave him a special word to him that kind of changed his mindset about everything. But now he understands, but he keeps it to himself. Goku would then inform the rest of the Z Fighters of what's happening, since the cat's out of the bag, and they would inform them what time, what date, and that we all need to train to become stronger than ever. They all agree on this, so they would all fly up to Kami's lookout and begin their training up there. Now Chi-Chi was not happy that they were going to have to leave to go train, but Goku promises that, you know, they'll take small little breaks, as that's very, you know, that's what they need to do, and Chi-Chi can come stay up with them at Kami's lookout for the time being. So, for the remainder of 3 years before the androids would even arrive, the Z Fighters would begin their training. Popo and Kami had to prepare all of the preparations for the hyperlock time chamber. Bulma did help out with the time capsules, of course, which would make it much more convenient to bring food and clothing and more in there, so they can, of course, stay there for as long as they need. Now, of course, they would all do their training on the lookout, with, of course, on the days off, Gohan would just do some slight studying with Chi-Chi, so he doesn't lose his edge, but Gohan was very gifted anyway. They would all continue training, getting stronger all together. Now, past this mark, as this will be 2 years later, the Z Fighters are much more powerful. Now, as I have gone over in the original, Goku and especially Gohan, probably around 12,000 or so. Because it's been 2 years of solid training, they haven't gone to the Hyperlock Time Chamber yet. But now, because of Goku and Gohan, Gohan for sure has gotten the most powerful out of all of them. As this was Goku's plan, as it is true that he is training Gohan mainly because he knows the power that Gohan has, but of course keeping up. Gohan had a power level of around 12,000 in the Saiyan Saga. Now we're getting past the 3-year mark, as they're going to go in the Hyperlock Time Chamber. Before they do, Gohan has a power level of around 50,000 from just training on Kami's lookout. Goku has a power level of around 40 to 50,000 as well, as he's very close to his son. Now Piccolo would have a similar power level of around 40,000. He's almost equal to Son Goku. And of course, Yamcha, Krillin, and Tien are all very similar in power. They're around 25 to 30,000. So the Z Fighters have gotten a lot more powerful, of course, but the big training will be the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. They're just prepping their bodies for this. Now, all while they're doing this, Bulma herself is actually having a lot of fun, as she basically took apart all of Nappa's spaceship. As you guys remember, Nappa died, but Bulma has the space pods and all the technology that's in there, so she's been kind of messing with it, working with it, making her own space shuttles and stuff like that can travel across space at insane speeds. Now, of course, Bulma here has also been studying Dr. Gero, trying to figure everything out about him, that maybe they can find his lair before the androids are taken out. So Bulma will do her best to find something about that while they're going to continue their training. But if not, they know where the androids are going to be, they know where they're going to be coming out of, so they are prepared for it. So, first up is Goku and Gohan. They would walk into the time chamber together, and they would be in there for a solid year. The training would be absolutely intense, as Goku states that he's not going to hold back and we're going to train harder than ever before. We need to push our limits. Now, during this whole year in time, they would continue to grow more powerful. And remember, this is the first time that they're under 10 times gravity as well. So it's a massive boost in terms of power with all of them training. So now with Gohan and Goku having power level around 40 to 50,000, Gohan, we're going to go over Gohan last. Once they walk out, people were shocked with how powerful they have actually become. Goku, after a year of training with the Son Gohan, he was fighting a near equal, burned the hyperbolic time chamber for a year with 10 times gravity. Son Goku has a power level of around 4 to 5 million. Gohan has a power level of around 6 to 7 million. They were shocked that they can get this powerful. Now, of course, Goku offers Gohan that, hey, you can maybe go back in there with Piccolo, as Piccolo doesn't need to require anything other than water to survive. Gohan might think that that's a good idea, but he doesn't want to push himself too hard. He just stayed a whole year in there by himself. And Goku would understand this, and Chi-Chi would not allow it. She says no, he's growing up way too fast, as Gohan is already an inch or two taller than last time, and his hair's all long. So yeah, Chi-Chi doesn't want that. Piccolo would agree, he's going to go in there alone. So Piccolo would go in there by himself, train and become stronger. Piccolo would have a power level similar to Goku. You can argue around 3 to 4 million. Now, of course, Yamcha, and you can maybe say Tien or Yamcha or Krillin, they would all take turns and go inside the hyperbolic time chamber to grow more powerful. You could even say that all three of them can, because they don't have the appetite of Goku and Gohan, as they eat for like 10 people by themselves. So they are able to go in there and stay and train. All three of them would then step out, as they are much more stronger, all of them having a power level of nearly 1 million each. So they are immensely strong. So for the remainder of the next few months, they would continue to train lightly and enjoy life, but also practice new techniques, as during this time, Piccolo was contemplating doing what the old Piccolo said, fusing with Kami, but he's despising doing that. Right when the time was perfect, the Z-Fighters were all ready to go, as the androids would then appear. The first android would actually be Dr. Gero, who turned himself into one. And Android 17 and Android 18. There was no Android 19. And there is no Android 16. The reason for this is since there is no Frieza, there is no King Cold, there is no Super Saiyan, the androids are much less developed, and they're not even close to as powerful as they were. As you know, the original androids have the ability to almost one-shot Final Form Frieza. These androids are not even close to that power at all, but they are scary powerful. Goku would then find these androids, who instantly lock their eyes on Goku, and that is their main target, but Dr. Gero would tell them to stand back. The androids would then turn to Dr. Gero and then kill him, as they went against their own command, and the androids would state that, nah, they're going to do their own thing. Now, if you guys remember, these androids were a little bit different than the future ones. They're not as pure evil, but of course, their main mission is to kill Goku still. So first up would, of course, be Goku. Android 17 wants to take a crack at him first. Android 18 thinks, whatever, as she's going to go fight the other weaklings, maybe his son. So, father and son would then start their fight. But now Piccolo would actually help Gohan the best he can, as Piccolo and Gohan were struggling to fight Android 18. Goku was able to fight Android 17 almost equally, but Android 17 still proved to be too powerful. And the other issue is that they had pretty much infinite stamina, so they can fight non-stop. It also makes them harder to track since they don't have any ki. So Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo would actually lose against these androids. Tien and Krillin, and of course Yamcha, would jump in to help, but they were powerless against these androids, but they have an idea, as they would then use the solar flare to escape. Goku was shocked with how powerful these androids are, as Goku was very wounded. But on top of this, they would give Goku a sensu bean, but Goku was starting to succumb to the heart virus, which is a big no-no. Piccolo would then have the medicine and give it to Goku, as they would fly full speed to Master Roshi's house, where it's safe. As now, they would have Goku laid to rest while Chi-Chi would take care of him to make sure that he has the medication, as Goku would be suffering immense pain from the heart virus. as Gohan had tears in his eyes as he doesn't know what to do. He's not strong enough to fight these androids, and now his father's dying because of him. He didn't beat them. Piccolo would then reassure Gohan and tell him that you have more power within you than even your father realizes. And Goku knows that deep down, because remember, they never talked about their room inside the hyperbolic time chamber, but we'll get to that shortly. The androids would then continue their onslaught, destroying and killing people. Now, Cell would still be around. Now, this version of First Form Cell is much different than the original version. This version of Cell is not even near the power that the other Cell was. He is a little bit stronger than the androids, but not by a large margin. As we know, Frieza, no Super Saiyan, no nothing. Yeah, so Cell is not that crazy powerful as he originally was, but he's still very powerful amongst the Z fighters currently. Cell himself would then try to search around to find the androids, as Piccolo during this time would take matters into his own hands, as it's time to not just be useless. He would meet up with Kami, who already knew why he was here, and they would then fuse, becoming one once more. Piccolo here has a larger power level. As I stated before, he's roughly almost the same power level as Goku, about 3 to 4 million. Goku power level about 5 and Gohan is 6. Piccolo fusing with Kami, remember, he gets a massive buff in power, as we don't officially know the multiplier for it, but even the likes with Kami, of course, is not as powerful as the one with Nail. We know that once when Nail fused with Piccolo, he got tens of times stronger, so I think it depends on the connection or maybe more. But we're going to say at bare minimum of at least twice as powerful. Bare minimum. So Piccolo here has a power level of around 8 million, as he's stronger than Gohan, and he would go fight the androids. He would fight Android 17 the same as before, as this fight would be pretty intense. Piccolo would actually be a little bit stronger than Android 17, maybe near equal, but the fight was very, very close. Android 17 has irresistible stamina, so he was starting to get the upper hand on Piccolo before Cell would then show himself. Now in this timeline, there's no Android 16, so Android 16 would not be fighting Cell to distract him from Android 17, etc., but we would actually have Piccolo. Now Piccolo, as we know, they never abused the sensu beans like they did before. Korn had a lot more sensu beans stashed up, and they were going to use it smart. Especially since Piccolo fused with Kami, he would tell Korn that before he would go off, to save these sensu beans and use it wisely. Piccolo will take one for himself, just in case he can get away or something happens, and he's going to go alone. Now, of course, Krillin would follow along, and Piccolo would just stay and just say, stay out of my way. Krillin understands, there's nothing that he can do. But Krillin would actually help Android 18 get away, and while Piccolo was getting absolutely demolished by First Form Cell, and him and Android 17 were fighting, this would be Piccolo's chance to tell Android 17 to run away as fast as you can to get away from here. If Cell absorbs you, he's going to become stronger than ever. Yeah. So, Cell would then trick Android 17, messing with his emotions. Android 17 would then fly in, and Cell would then absorb the android. Cell was relishing in this power, as now he was in a second form. So, Piccolo would easily be slapped to the side by Cell. Cell respects Piccolo's fight against Android 17. That's why he's not going to destroy him. Now, this version of Cell is not as canonically evil, as he doesn't have Frieza or King Cold in him, but he is still programmed to destroy and become the most powerful being, and to mainly kill Goku. So, but Cell is not as per se evil, he's just following a mission. So Cell would actually spare Piccolo, just because he can, and secondly, maybe Piccolo can become stronger to give him a fight, as he still has the Saiyan blood within him. Krillin will be able to get away with Android 18, so Cell was running around searching for them. Piccolo would be able to get a sensu bean and escape with barely being alive. Piccolo would be mad at himself that he let this Cell creature absorb Android 17, as Krillin and Android 18 will be hiding together. This is where they start forming a little relationship, as we know in the original, because now they're spending more time together. And Krillin will state that if I can hide my power level and you don't need to, we can get away. As Cell would have them trapped on these islands, he would continue searching around for them. This is where some change is going to occur. Guess who shows up after a few years? the Prince of All Saiyans himself, Vegeta. Vegeta would then land in a space pod as Cell would sense an oncoming energy coming this way, and he would recognize who Vegeta was. And he would be questioning, why is he here? And Vegeta would state that I'm here to have my rematch with Kakarot. But since the fact that you're here and you're gonna block that way or destroy him, no one can kill him but me. So Vegeta says, I have a present from me to you. And Vegeta would then fire a massive Gallic Gun attack at Cell, which Cell would then block the attack, only having minor scratches on him, but Cell doesn't really affect him, they're just dust marks. Cell will state that you've gotten a lot more powerful than my database has shown. This version of Vegeta has pushed himself far more than he ever has before, and Vegeta went here in incognito, so Frieza does not know that he left. He left his scouter, he left everything else, he pretty much just went there bare bones to fight Goku, and then go back out. Because he doesn't want Frieza or any of Zarbon or Dodoria getting into his business. This is just personal. Vegeta here, how strong is he? We know that Vegeta had a power level of around 18,000. Now, over these 3 years, he has been training harder than he's ever been before, truly pushing his limit. This version of Vegeta does have a power level very similar to Piccolo, having a power level of around 6 to 7 million. He's very similar to Kakarot, and he was able to keep up with him. Now, Vegeta's very confident. Maybe he thinks he can take on Frieza, but he wants bigger fish to fry later. He wants to fight Kakarot first, beat him, and probably kill him, and then go on to fight Frieza on his own. That's his main mission. And then he'll rule over the universe with an iron fist. The fight with Cell would be very interesting, as Vegeta was adapting during Cell during the battle, but Cell would prove to be a bit too much for this version of Vegeta. Until surprisingly, Piccolo would then save his life, appearing back. As Piccolo took the Senzu Bean, he was back up to full strength again, and he would sense Vegeta coming. Vegeta was furious and says to not get in his way, and Piccolo would kind of shut him up and say, look, you know he's stronger than you and even stronger than me. So if we do not work together and hold him off, or at least try and defeat him, he will kill us both, and you know that. And then how will you be able to get your fight with Goku? Vegeta would then scowl, as this is not what a Saiyan does, but he doesn't have a choice. So Piccolo and Vegeta team up would happen against this version of Cell, and the fight would be intense. Cell was actually struggling a little bit here, as Vegeta's going to show a new move that he was thinking of. He was going to use it to kill Kakarot with it, but he doesn't have a choice, as he tells Piccolo to get back, or unless you want to be hit. He would then begin charging up a Gallic, massive Gallic gun, firing it at Cell, but it was a distraction. As the smoke would clear, Cell would then look up to see Vegeta holding 2 arms out, as Vegeta would then charge up a final flash and hit Cell full force. Cell was shocked by this immense power, but Vegeta was completely exhausted, as Cell would then regenerate from just a few pieces that are left on the ground. And Cell was amazed that Vegeta had that much power within him, but now it's his turn. As Cell would then easily beat down on Piccolo and Vegeta, he would then spare him, as he has an idea. Once when he finds Android 18, maybe he can open up a little tournament. All these Z fighters can go fight him, and he can have a true battle to test his new perfect body. So, I feel like by this point he would find Android 18 and Krillin, as there's not much else that they can hide, and Cell would easily knock Krillin out of the way and absorb Android 18, becoming Perfect Cell. As now Perfect Cell would then state what he was going to do, of course starting up a little tournament against the rest of the Z fighters. Now, most of the events would happen the same. As Vegeta was gravely wounded, he would actually be healed at Bulma's house. This is where Bulma and Vegeta would start getting a little bit of a relationship going here, but Vegeta throws it to the side, of course. As Vegeta would then heal up, Goku would then recover from the heart virus by this point, and he would get the whole rundown on Cell, and what are they going to do to defeat him? Well, Goku would state here that they're going to have to, as they remember, they have 11 to 12 days to train, so they have to go back in the hyperbolic time chamber, at least for a little bit, as they ask Popo, how much more can we use this room? As they used it so much that Popo doesn't have much supplies left. Bulma has a little bit of supplies left. He states, well, we can go in there for a little bit, maybe a few months at most. Goku states we're going to have to use that, as Goku and Gohan would then go in for roughly 3 to 4 months, becoming more powerful. Once when they step out, they would be a lot more powerful than the original. Of course, with Goku, remember had a power level of 5,000. 5 million. Gohan had a power level of 6 million. They would bump up to around 10 million each, which they are more powerful than Piccolo, but it's not enough to fight this version of Cell. Now, this version of Cell has a power level similar to that of Final Form Frieza. He has a power level of around 100 million to 150 million. So this version of Cell is obviously not as powerful as his original, but compared to the Z Fighters currently, he's terribly strong. But now they were ready to go fight Cell, as the Z Fighters would then rush in and begin their fight. Goku would then fight Cell first, as Goku wants Gohan to watch, as Gohan was even stronger than him. Of course, he was hiding it. Goku's main mission was to train Gohan for this, not to truly train himself. And Goku was confident that Gohan will win, and he knows why. Of course, Cell was holding back a lot of his power. They would have fun trading blows back and forth. Goku would try everything in the book with Solar Flare and more against Cell, but after a long hard fight, Goku's outfit was pretty much destroyed. He knows that he cannot defeat Cell by himself, and Cell was barely even breaking a sweat. Goku would then tell Cell that I give up, and that his son Gohan would then step to the ring. Gohan was a little bit nervous, but then Gohan would then go to the stage and he would begin powering up. This version of Gohan has a power level of around 15 million, so he's 5 million more than his father. This impresses Cell a little bit, as Gohan does not have the drive that his father did, but that's the original Gohan. This version of Gohan is not as soft-hearted. He does have a calm spirit, but he's not refusing to fight Cell. He knows that Cell is a threat and that he has to protect everybody. So Gohan would fight Cell seriously, and it would be a great battle, but Cell would overpower Gohan, showing off his true strength, and Gohan was in the losing end of the battle. But Goku knows. He knows that Gohan has a hidden power within him that far surpasses any of us. Piccolo was confused and asked, what does he mean? Goku would state that in the hyperbolic time chamber, they were training more intense than ever before, and he saw something. Gohan was nearly defeated, but in a small fit of rage and emotion, he saw something that he never saw before, and the raw power that he saw Gohan produce will easily defeat this version of Cell, but Gohan just needs that push. As Cell would pick up on this, and Cell knows that he has a hidden power within him, so because of this, Cell would then torture Gohan, but that's not working. So Cell needs to break him. Cell would then aim his hand, and he would then fire a beam right through Goku's chest. And he would also hit it through Krillin and Tien, as Gohan would then scream for him to stop. As he would see his father nearly killed on the floor, Gohan's hair would begin standing up, as his power begins to skyrocket. Gohan's power level of 15 million is now rising rapidly, as Cell would then smirk as this is what he wanted, but then he started looking in fear, as he's never seen this before. As Gohan's hair starts to turn gold back and forth, as these massive beams of energy was hitting around them like lightning, Vegeta was utterly shocked, as his eyes were widening. Is it true? Is he turning into the legendary Super Saiyan? As everybody heard this, Gohan would then let out one massive scream as the transformation was complete. Gohan has now become a Super Saiyan. His power level was so enormous that this completely shocked Cell. Gohan's power level here as a Super Saiyan is 750 million on top of his rage. So he has a power level of nearly 1 billion. So of course the likes of Frieza and even Cell, who's stronger than Frieza, has no chance against this version of Gohan. Cell here would then scream in rage, as he would be easily dominated and overpowered by Gohan. Gohan would start to get cocky. His Saiyan side would start to take over a bit more, but in this timeline, Gohan knows to finish Cell instantly, as he's not as gullible as he was in the original. So this version of Gohan would then easily fly in to defeat Cell and deliver a massive gut punch, which would make him spit out Android 18, saving her life. Gohan would then charge up a massive Kamehameha wave and hit Cell full force, completely obliterating him. As now Gohan then reverts back to base form, completely exhausted. The threat of Cell is finally over. The Z Fighters would then recover, as they would all then be happy with Gohan, and they would all recover and go back to their original lives. This of course greatly changes the Buu timeline, as Goku was never dead for 7 years, but Goten will still be born the same time, and this is when a lot of things are going to change. After the defeat of Cell and the androids, peace was finally restored to Earth. This greatly changes things from the last episode. As we know, Son Goku here never died at the hands of Cell. This means that Goku never went to the other world. This means that he never trained under King Kai still, and he also never learned about Super Saiyan 3. Or did he? Son Goku knows that there is a level past Super Saiyan, and he knows it. During these 7 years, he would train alongside Gohan to push this new level and to find something that's never been thought of before. Now what about Vegeta? As we know, Vegeta was training to only grow more powerful, and he was kind of pushed into the Cell arc when everything happened. After the defeat of Cell, Vegeta kind of destroyed his pride a little bit, seeing Gohan become the legendary Super Saiyan. During this time, Vegeta would be in space as he just didn't care anymore. He tried to become a Super Saiyan, but nothing worked. He would snap and transform into a Super Saiyan himself. Very similar to how he did in the original. Because of this, Vegeta now would have killed Frieza, as he would have overpowered Frieza easily and taken his throne. Now Vegeta did have a relationship with Bulma, but I feel like Vegeta would still kind of rule over the Empire, but you can also argue that Vegeta doesn't really see a need to rule over Frieza's Empire, as he never liked how Frieza's kind of whole Empire thing worked. So I feel like he would just destroy every bit of it, leaving little to no trace left. This means that Vegeta would return to Earth, but he's looking for a rematch against Kakarot. He would be stopped by Gohan, who Gohan would have defeated Vegeta in their match. And Goku wouldn't have been able to beat Vegeta at that time because he does not have Super Saiyan just yet. After 7 years had passed, most of the events would happen the same, with all of the friends and allies meeting up at the tournament the same as before. Son Goku is not at a time hunch though, as he's not dead, and with Baba for 24 hours, he's happily with his family enjoying a good time, and he was considering joining the tournament to maybe fight some people, and to maybe even fight his son in a little one-on-one. And also Chi-Chi really wants the money. During these 7 years, Goten was still born like the original. Gohan would still go to high school. The difference here is that Gohan is not as intelligent as he was in the original. Gohan still prides himself about training rather than bookworm and studying, but he still does it as he understands that this might provide a little bit of a balance and it makes his mother happy. But Chi-Chi at this point starts to accept the fact that this is how Gohan is, like father like son, and he won't change. So Gohan has kept his training up for these 7 years and has only gotten much stronger, as that's all he does is train and do a little bit of studying. Gohan would still meet Videl, but Gohan would never become the Golden Warrior or the Great Saiyan Man like he did. Gohan would just stop crime here and there, and he would meet Videl, and he wouldn't hide it like he did before, as he's a lot more confident and more open in himself. And Videl would like that, so the two would start to get along. Videl says, "Why don't you train me?" which Gohan I think would agree, as why not, and he's also teaching Goten more at the same time. This same Gohan, and Goku as well, has also been training Goten more. Goten having much more training and much more attention than, let's say, Trunks has, Goten is actually a lot more powerful than his original self as well. Now as for Trunks, Vegeta would have still arrived back on Earth and would stayed with Bulma, as he doesn't see a reason to be an emperor or ruler. He likes it more on Earth. So he would still raise Trunks the same way as before, but Vegeta still has that burning desire to fight Kakarot, as that's his true match. Supreme Kai would still appear during the tournament, and he would still explain about Buu and what is going on. Much of the events would happen the same, to where Gohan would power up seeing Videl getting beaten, and he would have his energy taken. This would send Gohan out of commission for a little while, as because of this, Buu would actually be revived much faster. Babidi during this time would also take over Vegeta at the same time, because Vegeta would be perfect to get the final bit of energy needed. Buu would just spawn a little bit earlier than he did. So once when Goku and Vegeta meet up to fight, both of them would actually be in Super Saiyan 2. They were both surprised that they had this form, but not at the same time, as Goku knew that there was a level past Super Saiyan 2, but Goku knows that there is something past even this, but he hasn't even begun touching that yet. Vegeta doesn't know about this. He thinks that they're at the pinnacle of their power. Him and Vegeta would begin their match. Son Goku and Vegeta, who has the buff up from the Majin, are seemingly equal. Goku here, again, he's around the same strength as he was before. They are a lot more powerful than the original cells from the Buu saga. So once when they continue fighting and Majin Buu was born, Vegeta would still trick Goku and knock him out. This version of Vegeta would go to fight Majin Buu the same as before, where, even though he is a little bit stronger than his original self, Majin Buu, with his insane durability and unique body, Vegeta would have no chance. So Vegeta would still self-destruct and kill himself to try and destroy Majin Buu. And he would almost do it. Now Son Gohan, who has awoken by this point, after having a lot of his energy taken, he would soon be recovering, as Dabura and Babidi were already long gone by this point, as Dabura was already destroyed by Buu. Babidi was now just running around with Buu, and Buu was increasingly growing stronger. Vegeta, now sacrificed himself, was now spinning amongst hell. The difference here is that once when Goku would awaken, he would then see the chaos that has been going on, but he knows that he cannot defeat Majin Buu by himself. But he knows that Gohan is alive. Gohan would then fly off to go face Majin Buu. Once when Gohan does, the match would then begin, as Gohan would be in Super Saiyan 2 himself, and the fight would be very intense, as this version of Gohan is much more powerful than the original version of Gohan. Majin Buu has little to no chance, but Gohan senses that he's not completely evil. Similar to his father, he would tell Buu to stop and maybe not listen to Babidi as much. Maybe Buu can become a good guy. Buu, I feel, would listen, as he did lose to Gohan. He had a fun match, and pretty much he would kill Babidi, or Goku or Gohan would kill him either way. So Buu would actually start to live on his own around Earth in the same little scenes, to where he would even befriend Mr. Hercule the same as before. But since this hitman attacked B and also Mr. Satan, injuring them both gravely, Majin Buu would still snap and release Evil Buu. Now you guys have to remember that even though Gohan had most of his energy taken, it wasn't all of it. But even that almost overloaded Majin Buu with how much power he has. This version of Majin Buu is much more powerful than the other one. All of this power was laid dormant, as Fat Buu was not powerful enough to hold it. Once when Evil Buu absorbs Fat Buu, Super Buu is born. He has all of that latent power that they absorb from Gohan now within himself. This version of Super Buu is far beyond anything that he was before, even surpassing the likes of Vegeta and Buhan easily. Gohan would sense this power, as him and his father would then fly off to go see Super Buu. As not having many places to go, as Buu was going to destroy planet Earth, Supreme Kai would then help them by using the Kai Kai and sending all of them to the Supreme Kai world, where they can fight without holding back. As Vegeta would even be brought along, giving access to where he can use his body, and of course as a final gift, of course, from King Yemma. A lot of the events would happen the same, with of course the only difference here being that Majin Buu would have an intense fight with Gohan. Vegeta and Goku would watch as the Supreme Kai gives Goku and Vegeta an option to help, as they can do fusion. As he would show, as of course, Kibito and Supreme Kai never fuse, so they have Kibito's earrings to fuse, and they can help Gohan. Vegeta would rather die than fuse with Goku, but Goku promises him that they don't have much of a choice, as if they don't do it, what is Gohan going to be able to do? As Gohan, while it is true, he's much more powerful, he's basically fighting the image of himself. But he's starting to lose stamina, as Majin Buu is recovering every single attack. You have to understand, they only fought Buu one time beforehand. Vegeta only fought him once, and him and Gohan only fought him once. So in total for the whole Z Fighters, it was only twice. So they don't know everything that Majin Buu can do. So Goku and Vegeta would then fuse as well. As Gohan was powerful enough to fight on his own right, Vegeta was born as he would burst into Super Saiyan and even go up to Super Saiyan 2. He would at this point be equal to Gohan, as the two would begin their battle double teaming on Super Buu, overpowering him. This version of Super Buu was overloading with power, as he was continuing to grow more powerful. As he was even bulking up, looking very similar to Buff Buu, the fight would be intense. But they don't know that Majin Buu can absorb people, as Vegito was then covered by the goo and absorbed. Now, of course, Vegito was secretly within Majin Buu, so, of course, he wouldn't let himself be completely absorbed, but the magic wore off in the earrings, so they were reverted back and not fused. They would use this time to travel through Buu's body. As Gohan would continue fighting Super Buu struggling, they would still free the other people. Now, they would see that there is a Majin Buu. What happens if they remove him? And they do so. Vegeta's a bit curious to see what happens. Buu would begin transforming and screaming, growing even more powerful than before. He would then arrive as Kid Buu. Both Goku and Vegeta and Gohan had no energy left, and both of Supreme Kai and Kibito Kai did not have enough energy to heal them, or in time, what were they going to do against this fresh version of Buu? This version of Buu was monstrous, who both dominated Goku and Vegeta, as he wanted to make Gohan watch. Gohan's anger was flaring. As sparks began forming on his body, Gohan knew that there was a level beyond Super Saiyan 2. He just never could reach it without that push. Once having this push, like it was with Cell, Gohan would then scream and transform into a Super Saiyan 3. This version of Gohan would not waste any time with Kid Buu, and easily kick Kid Buu into the air, overpowering the Pink Majin, and he would then fire a massive beam of energy, completely incinerating Kid Buu. The massive toll that Super Saiyan 3 gives on you is intense, as Gohan lost his power pretty much instantly, and he was completely exhausted. They would then use the Dragon Balls to bring back Vegeta, and then also repair all the damage that Majin Buu has done, and life was finally restored back to peace, as Gohan would continue finishing up high school and also dating Videl. As now, this changes the Buu arc, as there's no Gotenks and there's no the other Buus as well, but now, far off into the other side of the universe, there is a purple cat sleeping soundly, but he's starting to stir in his sleep, as he's having the dream of a true warrior, a Saiyan god, that can give him the challenge that he's been looking for to be his true rival. And that is it for this video. If you guys think of watching, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really appreciate everything. Let's get to 250 likes for this video. I really appreciate it. Let's get to 20,000 subscribers, and I'll talk to you all later.